Dear defenders, this is day 1023 of Russia's desperate invasion of Ukraine. A hospital hit in Zaporizhia, Russians report numerous drone strikes because it's a game for two, a laser air defense system tested in the UK, and Orban turned into a peace negotiator. Or did he? You're watching Only Facts with Operator Starsky, and we will talk about the most important updates right now. On 10th of December, Russian terrorists attacked Zaporizhia. A clinic was hit. As of this moment, authorities report 10 civilians dead and 22 wounded, including children. And because Russian terrorists kill Ukrainian civilians, Ukraine punishes the Russian terrorists. Yesterday, massive drone strikes were reported in several regions of the terrorist federation. In Taganrog, an air repair facility and a military base were hit. We have some footage from the destroyed military barracks in this area. At first, the panicking Russian propagandists reported that Ukraine used its long-range Palyanytsia drones. Then they changed their version to ATACMS. Massive firework was reported in Bryansk, where another terror Russian oil facility was improved by the good Ukrainian drones. This facility was connected to the Russian oil pipeline Druzhba and supplied the Russian invaders with the fuel for their vehicles. Happy Ukrainian drones didn't just stop there. They made another trip to Chechnya and improved Kadyrovite Department of Interior. Previously, several strikes were conducted against Kadyrovite Spetsnaz University and barracks. Just to remind the war criminals that they won't hide anywhere in Russia, and it's much better to stay in a warm cell in The Hague. They also offer free food. In Rostov Oblast, the fireworks were reported in the area of Russian ammo storage. Seriously, this night was extremely fun for the Russian citizens who have chance to safely record Ukrainian strikes because they don't worry about being hit. Unfortunately, it's not the case for Ukrainian civilians. Same picture in Kursk, where Ukrainian drones harassed the Russo DPRK troops. Not much details on this one so far, but I'm sure it was not the last strike. The Russians will be amazed to learn what kind of Pandora's box they have opened in 2022. Another strike took place in the Russia-occupied Sevastopol, Ukrainian Crimea, which serves as the biggest naval military hub for the Russian terrorists. Friends, as always, Russians reported successfully intercepting everything, especially in this case, and shortly after that, they announced disconnecting a number of streets from the power grid, apparently because nothing was hit. Switching to Pokrovsk, the Ukrainian news portal Sensor.net provided a detailed map of the situation in this area. Here we can see approximate area controlled by the Russian invaders since 27th of November and the main directions of the Russian offensive. Majority of the Russian attacks take place in these locations, and the distance from the Russian positions to the outskirts of Pokrovsk is approximately 3-4 kilometers, which allows Russians utilize most of their artillery, including 120mm mortars, and of course amount of drones in this area is absolutely staggering. However, Russian invaders also face the same difficulties. Despite being an important transportation hub, Pokrovsk is not a major city as Russian propaganda is trying to represent. It's a relatively small town, approximately the size of Bakhmut. Here you can see Pokrovsk in comparison to Zaporizhia, which is one of the major Ukrainian cities. Just to remind you, in more than 10 years of war, neither Russian hybrid army nor their regular invaders managed to acquire control over even a single Ukrainian major city. Their attempts of taking Kyiv, Chernihiv, Odessa, and Kharkiv failed dramatically, and Russians also gave up the major city of Kherson in order to be able to capture a minor town of Bakhmut, which resulted in Russian troops losing between 25 and 35,000 troops for a town as big as 3 miles across. The overwhelming Russian losses in Bakhmut were the reason Prigozhin attempted a mutiny against Putin. Again, just a small reminder on what does this war cost Russian families fooled by the Z propaganda. And the cost is absolutely terrifying, my friends, because Ukrainian defenders are not giving up even small settlements easily. They turn them into death traps for the Russian invaders, like it happened in Rubizh, Lysychansk, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Vuhledar. Again, those are small towns only several miles across, where Russians buried tens of thousands of their male population. Now, the UK tested its laser air defense system in Wales. It was reported that an emitter installed on the platform of a Wolfhound armored truck successfully intercepted a drone. Earlier in 2000, such tests also took place in the United States and proved to be highly successful because laser beam can intercept not only flying objects but also groups of mortar shells. But despite being highly effective, this weapon still has several issues like range and power, because modern laser emitters require enormous amount of electricity to be utilized. In the United States, the problem of range was solved by installing a laser emitter on a Boeing airplane, which theoretically allows utilizing this weapon against missiles. But the capacity is still extremely limited. That's why we won't see laser air defense anytime soon, at least not in this decade, as far as I can tell. But the idea is still impressive. Again, the world is entering the World War III, and the civilized countries are facing the need of producing a better weaponry to defend against people who want to kill them. Luckily for those who understand this threat, they have more money and brain power than the terrorist regimes combined. And speaking of those who don't really understand this threat, or for some reason don't want to understand it, Hungarian Prime Minister Orban was spotted visiting Donald Trump's mansion. After that, he had a call with the internationally wanted war criminal Putin, widely referred to as Huilo. And today Orban is visiting Turkey, where he meets Erdogan to talk about Ukraine and Syria. To me, it looks like Orban decided to disguise as a peacemaker, because his current agenda of supporting Putin is being highly criticized in the European Union. This is how he tries to re-establish his position as a European leader, a trustworthy man, but at the same time Orban is known for supporting the Russian terrorism, and he's the one who called Ukraine to surrender, for example. For instance, yesterday he publicly stated that he offered Ukraine to introduce a Christmas ceasefire, but Ukraine allegedly refused. At the same time, Zelensky's advisor Dmytro Litvin said that there are no such offers coming from Orban. And just to remind you, the biggest Russian missile strikes of 2022 and 2023 happened on Christmas and New Year. I can tell because I was reporting them for you. What game is Orban actually playing? I can only assume that he probably helps Putin understand the situation in the US and around the NATO countries, whether they want to support Ukraine, whether they want to continue providing this support, and if they are prepared for the upcoming Russian invasion of Europe. That's just my opinion. Please let me know what you think about it. With that, my friends, I wish you a beautiful day. We'll see you in the comments. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.